Okay.
Hi, how are you?
Good. How are you?
Good, thanks. So, basically, I'm one, like many other, to sit on TikTok for hours and scroll through. And I happened to come across your story, and I thought, this is so different than stuff that I usually see. And somebody who might post something about I got divorced is usually something sad. Usually, somebody would say like crying or I'm so sad that I got divorced, and here's my story. But yours was a little different. When I saw yours, I thought, I wonder what that must have been like to feel happy that you're separating from somebody. So I'd love to know more about that story in order to sort of spread a message that a lot of women may be going through and not talking about.
Yeah, so I kind of posted it. I didn't think it would get that much attention. So it kind of surprised me. But basically, it started 5 years ago. We met on Tinder, started dating. We dated for about 2 months. His brother ended up committing suicide. So I kind of helped him through that. And then he ended up leaving me 2 weeks later. Got married to the girl he left me for. They got divorced after 7 months. Well, he came right back to me. I guess looking back, stupidly got back together with him. And it kind of went really fast from there. Like I was moving into an apartment. I just got a job. Moved into an apartment. He moved in like the same day. Like I was gonna live on my own, and he forced himself to move in. Didn't really give me a choice. From there, he wanted to buy an engagement ring, but it had to be in my name because he didn't have credit. So of course, it was in my name. Then kind of coerced me into building a house in my name, which is, I've got a good job, but we got engaged June 1st, 2018, and we'd only been together since February. And then, let's see, he was just very controlling. So I tried to leave multiple times before I actually got married, but he was just very manipulative with it. He was one of those that if you leave, I'm going to kill myself, and I just don't have the heart. I didn't have the heart to do that. So I tried to leave, I know, two times before we got married. We got married October 12th of 19. And so we got married. He's racked up all of this debt in my name because he didn't have credit. I had all of this debt in my name. And we both had good jobs. I'm a nurse, he was an electrician, but we couldn't pay our bills because he just liked to spend money. So what really got me was, I guess, December 23rd, I was with my family. I've got family that lives out of state. They're from Tennessee. He decided to work that day. I'd had my phone turned off because I was playing with my family, with the kids, spending time with them. And I just kept getting calls and texts from him. And he's like, you need to get home. You need to wash my clothes. You need to make me a hot meal. All the other wives make their husbands hot meals. The dogs, we had 2 dogs at the time. They can't stay in the garage by themselves. And it was just constant. And it's like, I'm very family oriented. Couldn't stay with my family. So that was kind of the day that I really started thinking. And then like throughout this whole thing, I couldn't do anything. Like I work with a guy, one of our nurses at work, he's a male, constantly got accused of cheating. Even though I caught him all the time, he was adding random women from all over the country. But that's okay, but I couldn't, have friends that I knew in real life that were male. So beginning of January, he had logged onto my phone, I guess connected his Google account. Well, whenever I went to search something, it came up that he was looking for escorts, and he was looking at these sites for to buy other women's used underwear. And at that point, I was just like, this is ridiculous. I'm done. He's taken over my finances. He constantly puts me down. I can't do anything without his permission. I can't go anywhere. I can't enjoy anything. And it was at that point, I'm like, I don't have to put up with this. This is absolutely ridiculous. So January 9th, I ended up telling him I wanted a divorce. And At that point, he kind of lost it, started throwing everything around, started pulling that, well, I'll just kill myself. And at that point, I'm just like, I don't, I can't continue to stay in a situation for me because you want to be like this. I was depressed. I slept all the time. I had no joy to my life. And my family told me, that they could tell that something was wrong with me, but I couldn't talk to them because he didn't want me to talk to them. I couldn't tell them what I was going through. And I just couldn't do that anymore. Like, it's not fair to me to not be able, I'm very close with my mom and my dad. And for me to not be able to tell them everything that's going on, and it's still taken me because, he controlled me so much. It's still taken me, we're 6 months out from everything, from the divorce, completely being divorced. And, I'm still telling my parents things that they've never heard me say before that happened to me. So it's not just me. And that's why I was so happy whenever it's done. The night I kicked him out, I fell to the floor crying because it was like a literal weight was lifted off my shoulders. I'd never felt so light before. And it's something I can't explain. But I mean, it's like a weight was just lifted. Like, I didn't have to deal with it anymore. I could go out and do whatever, not that I go out and do, crazy things, but just being able to go to like the grocery store and not be questioned about what I'm doing. Like, little things like that just amaze me still. So I kind of, like, as soon as I got my divorce papers in the mail, that's where the TikTok came from. Because it takes a lot to pull yourself out of that. I didn't realize, I always said I'd never let it happen to me, and I did. And I was always one of those people that it's like, I don't understand why women stay in situations like that. And now it's like, whenever you're controlled, you don't really realize what you're going through at the time until it gets so bad that you're like, I can't do it anymore. So that's kind of where, and it's still a struggle. But that's kind of where I'm coming from and why I was so happy, because you're right. A lot of people, whenever they get divorced, they're like, this is horrible. And I was like, this is the best day of my life. Best thing that's ever happened to me. So
was he ever physically abusive to you at all?
No. Very financial abuse, which is something that I didn't really realize. Because like, he took control of my finances. He made me get a joint checking account. Everything was in my name. Nothing was in his name. He had no responsibility whatsoever. And now looking back, I'm realizing, he did that because at some point it wasn't going to work and he didn't want any responsibility. And I mean, he did that to the first wife too, for the most part, I think. So he knows what he's doing. He's just very manipulative. But it was never physical. He did threaten me a couple of times. And he would say it in a joking manner, but like, after I decided that I was going to leave, he would say, if you ever decide to leave me, I'll just kill you because I've been divorced before and I'm not doing it again. Which is kind of also where the fear came in, because he said it jokingly and he was laughing, but I'm like, I don't, really know. So I did have to get a protective order once I got divorced. So that's kind of the only time he said he would get, physical. But he would yell at me in front of people all the time, and that's what I didn't realize at the time, is that abuse isn't just physical. Manipulation, money, sex, all of that is, considered, in my situation and in a lot of other people's situation, abuse. And I didn't really realize it until I filed for my protective order, and I was sitting in, before I went in to see the judge, and they were like counseling me, and they had people in there from our domestic violence place here, and they said, you really probably need to go to domestic violence counseling because, him threatening you like that is considered a domestic violence. And kind of at the moment I was like, oh crap, like, this is what I've been going through all this time. So my dog, it's, you know, like I said, not something I realized I was going through until I came out of it. And that was really hard for me, realizing that I let myself be in that situation for that long, because I had tried to leave. So,
Do you ever feel like you look back and sometimes you think things just would have been easier if he would have physically abused me instead of doing all of this other stuff?
probably, because it's like, other people can see physical abuse too. So it's like, if other people would have seen it, they knew, every single one of my friends and family, they can tell you, we knew something was wrong. Like anytime we were around, both of us together, we could tell something was wrong, but they didn't know what, until all of this came out. So I think, yeah, if it would have been physical and people could have seen it, I feel like it would have been easier to leave, because then they could have been like, you are being abused. But other people don't, mental abuse isn't really, as, I don't want to say it's prevalent, it's very prevalent, but as easily recognized in other people and even yourself, because what they do is they make you doubt yourself. So even if you try to stand up for yourself, they put those doubts in your head. Oh, you're just crazy. You just, you don't know how to handle me and all that stuff. And that's what I was going through is, if I would bring up something or say how something he made me feel or something he did made me feel, it's like, you're just crazy. I wouldn't do that to you, and all the time he is. So it was a tactic to make me doubt myself. And that's why I wouldn't leave, because he made me feel like I was crazy, and I'm not.
So what do you think women should, I feel like based on what you're explaining, it can definitely be like a cloud over your head of not understanding what's going on, and like you said, until after. What do you think like it's important for women to look for who might feel uncomfortable in their relationship but they're not sure if it's abuse or not?
The biggest thing is, like, if you don't know what you're feeling, if they're constantly making you doubt what you're feeling, you should never be in a situation where who you're with is going to doubt your feelings. You should be able to open up and say, hey, what you're doing hurts my feelings. And if they can't take that into consideration and change what they're doing, and they're constantly telling you that you're wrong, then, that's to me the biggest sign that, I missed. Like, I'm not somebody that was normally easily manipulated like that. And because he constantly down and doubted me, it really changed my brain. Still to this day, if people, are saying things to me, I will doubt them. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is. I'm going to doubt them. I mean, it's going to be that way for the rest of my life. But, just to help people and realize, and I think it's, I didn't realize that other people went through it until I posted this thing. And it's something that, if you're doubting yourself, you should be able to talk to somebody else about it and not be told that you can't, because they can offer you a different perspective. Because my mom told me all the time, she's like, are you sure you want to be in this? And how bad it was, but she could tell. Are you sure you want to be this? Are you sure you want to be in this? And I'm like, yes. And it's like, I don't blame my parents for anything, but if they would have pushed, a little bit harder, people shouldn't be scared to open up, and just let it, out.
So once you did become aware of the situation, what kind of resources did you use to help?
I, whenever I went in, like, they offered me counseling. I got an attorney. He tried to talk me out of an attorney so much because he just wanted to sign papers and everything be, in my name. And the attorney helped me a lot. I'm still looking to go into therapy. That's something that I really need to do, but with, the corona and everything, it's been kind of difficult. And I would just rather be able to sit down and look at somebody face to face, like in a room, and be able to talk to them about it, therapist wise. But my family and my friends have been my biggest thing since all of this. But I definitely realize that I do need to see a therapist because I've got a lot of things I have to work through. And they do offer around here. They offer free domestic violence counseling. The way my work schedule is, neither of the times that they do it during the week really work for me because I work nights. They do them on Mondays and Thursdays, and I work off on Thursdays. But that's something I would definitely like to do, just can't get to. But other than that, I'm still kind of exploring, everything that I need to do for myself too. And it's going to take me a while to get there, I think.
Well, I really appreciate you being open to sharing all of this. And I think something important that I'd like to know is what is sort of like your biggest takeaway from the situation that you'd like to share with either other women or your former self?
The biggest thing is that, trust your gut. I knew for a long time that something was wrong and something wasn't going to work. It wasn't going to work. If you have a gut instinct telling you to leave, leave. You don't have to be treated that way. It's not right for you to be treated that way. You have so much family and friend support out there, or just, there are counselors out there that you can reach out to. Because my friends and family have been great since all of this happened. And, he made me feel like I couldn't. And that's the farthest thing from the truth. Your friends and family, they want to help. So open up to them, let them know what's going on. You don't have to be in that situation. And the biggest thing for me now coming out of it is that it's okay to share what I've been through. Because for the longest time, he made me feel like I couldn't talk about it. And that's not right. And now my goal has shifted to, I've got to talk about what I went through because a lot of people don't see this side of emotional, financial abuse. And a lot of people don't recognize it. Most people recognize physical abuse. So I feel like, by sharing what I've been through, that's going to help other people to realize that, abuse is not just physical. It's more than one thing. And, it affects everybody differently. And it's okay to admit, that you're going through it because otherwise you're not going to get help. And it's okay. I had a lot of shame in getting divorced after 4 months. And I did get some hate comments about that. But you know what? I realized that I had to do what was right for me. Divorce, there's no stigma in divorce. There shouldn't be. If you're in a situation and it's not right, you don't have to stay just for the sake of being married. And, not saying that, I got divorced after 4 months. Does it bother me still? Is there any shame in it? Absolutely not. That's kind of one of the biggest things I've struggled with because I grew up, with everybody in the church and, you get married, you stay married. Like, no, you don't have to stay in a situation like that. So that's probably the biggest thing. And like, just talk about it with other, because I don't want anybody to have to go through what I went through. It's not easy. It's not fair. And that's sharing now is because, as bad as everything is that I've went through, if I can talk about it and help somebody else out of that situation, that's what I'm going to do because I don't want anybody to feel the way I felt for the past couple of years.
Well, I am so sorry that you had to go through what you went through. And I think, like you said, you being able to talk about it, that's a huge thing. And I think you've taught me a lot just having this conversation. And I think the more that you have that, you're going to teach a lot of women a lot of things. So I really appreciate you taking the time to share your story with me today.
You're welcome.
Is there anything else that you wanted to share?
No, I think I've pretty much covered it all. Probably a jumbled mess, but
No, thank you so much for sharing.
you're welcome. Thank you.
Sure. You take care.
You too. Thank you.
Thanks.